Hi, I'm Dr. Sacha Obaid here at North Texas Plastic Surgery, and I want to help you pick the perfect breast implant. First things first, we got to decide between silicone and saline. What's the advantage, what's the disadvantage? Pretty simple. Saline, the implant is filled with salt water. This is a tremendous safety feature because, God forbid this implant were to rupture, it literally is the equivalent of your body drinking a bottle of Gatorade. You literally absorb that fluid and then pee it out. Very nice, very safe. Also, it is the most cost-efficient or cheapest breast augmentation option. Next are the silicone gummy bear implants. The big advantage these implants have over those saline implants is that they are much softer. They give a much more natural feel to the breast. When you touch a patient who has had a saline breast implant, it's often very obvious that the breast is a breast implant and not necessarily a natural breast. With a silicone implant, it can be very difficult to determine if it's real or augmented. In addition, the silicone technology that we have today is not your mother or your grandmother's silicone. So, the silicone molecules are cross-linked to create a gummy bear-like effect. And that's wonderful because if the implant were to rupture, God forbid, the silicone molecules are stuck together so they don't spread throughout the body like they did years ago. Now, once you select between silicone and saline, we need to select the shape. And there really are two options, a round shape or a teardrop shape to the implant. The advantage to a round implant is that it's going to give you the most fullness at the top. And that's going to allow you to really show off your augmentation in your bikini, your low-cut dress, etc. Also, if you've previously had a pregnancy and you have a loss of volume at the top of the breast, the round implant really replaces that nicely. A teardrop-shaped implant, on the other hand, has the advantage of having a more natural takeoff and more fullness at the bottom than would a round implant. In certain patients, that can create a more natural or softer look. I personally find it to be a great advantage in patients that are very, very slender with absolutely no breast tissue to start with, where they don't want to see an obvious top to the implant. In patients that have a little bit more fullness naturally, then the round implant gets camouflaged by the muscle and the fat, and then there's less of an advantage to that teardrop shape. One disadvantage to the teardrop shape is that occasionally the implant can rotate, and when it does, the breast can obviously have an unnatural appearance. With a round implant, you don't have to worry about that rotation because no matter how it rotates, it looks the same. The teardrop-shaped implants are all coated with a rough texture. This rough texture is designed to help the implant grip to minimize that risk of rotation. One thing that patients need to be aware of now is that we are finding that there's an extremely rare condition that can be caused by that rough texture of the teardrop-shaped implants called BIA-ALCL. By using a round implant today, we have the option of using a smooth implant that doesn't have that rough texture. And this obviates the risk of that BIA ALCL. Now that we have selected a silicone implant, we need to select the cohesivity of the implant. What does that mean? Well, you heard me reference the term gummy bear. And we said that these new silicone implants are like gummy bears in that the silicone molecules are cross-linked, allowing the implants to hold their shape even in the event of them breaking. Well, that's only part of the story. We can have the implants with more or less cross-linking, which gives them more structure. Why is that important? Well, the more the silicone implants are cross-linked, the more the silicone implant will want to maintain its original shape. That's significant because, one, an implant that has a higher cohesivity will be more firm to the touch. But an implant that has a more cohesivity will want to maintain its shape in different positions. So, let's look at 3 identically sized implants with different cohesivities. Here with the lowest cohesivity, you can imagine that this young lady who has this implant in is standing up and she has a little bit of natural collapse at the top of her breast and fullness at the bottom, so that this implant, while being a round implant, actually has some properties of that teardrop shape implant we talked about earlier. On this side, we have our most cohesive implant. And despite standing up, you see little to no collapse of the implant at the top. This means that the young lady that has this implant in, no matter what position she's in, will have the maximum fullness and cleavage at the top. So, if you want a more subtle, natural look, a lower cohesive implant, perfect. If you want, in all positions, big time cleavage, fullness at the top, maximum cohesive implant. The next big decision is what size implant do we use? At North Texas Plastic Surgery, we take a multi-step approach to selecting the implant size. The first step is to look at wish photos that you bring in of breasts that you find attractive. Based on that, that gives us a sense of the general range of implant sizes that you're looking at. The second step that we use is we actually try these sizers on in the office, in a bra, in your clothes, so that we can see how much fullness and how much weight you desire from your augmentation. Next, we will actually create 3-dimensional images of what you will look like before and after your augmentation, so that we can make sure that the size that you picked is consistent not just with your wish photos, but also with what it's actually going to look like on you personally. All right, so I want to play a fun little game with you guys. I want you to try and guess which of these implants is the biggest. And I'll wait for a second. All right, spoiler alert, they're all the exact same size. So why do they look so different? The profile of the implant. So, on this end, we have a moderate plus profile implant. In the center, a high profile implant. And on the end, an ultra high profile implant. And what you see is, for the exact same size and volume, the lower the profile, the wider the implant is. At the same time, the higher the profile, the more the implant tends to stick away from the patient's chest. So one misnomer that I want to dispel is that the higher the profile, the more fullness you're going to have at the top. That is 100% wrong. The higher the profile, the more the implant is going to stick away from the chest. So picture yourself laying down here with these three different profiles. With the lower profile implant, the implant sticks or projects less away from your chest when you're laying down. Whereas the highest profile implant sticks further away from your chest. However, if you look at it when you're standing up, the lower profile implant actually starts higher on the chest. Now, patients oftentimes hear the words high or ultra high, and they think that that means the implant is going to look less natural on them. That is absolutely incorrect as well. The key when we're selecting the profile is to match the width of the implant to the width of the patient's chest. If you have a patient who is particularly petite and you use a very low profile implant, then you can run into a situation where the implant is wider than her rib cage. In that scenario, the breasts will touch in the center and they will stick very far out to the side. That is a very unnatural look, despite the fact that it is a low profile implant. On the other hand, with a very high profile implant or ultra high profile implant, on a patient that has a very broad chest, the implant can be too narrow. And when that happens, then there's a lot of space in between the breasts, which also creates an unnatural look. So we here at North Texas Plastic Surgery, after we have you select the volume, we want to try these different profiles on with you while you're asleep so that we can make sure that we have the width of the implant matched to the width of your chest. So we get fantastic cleavage every time that looks beautiful, attractive, but not unnatural. If you have any questions about breast augmentation or selecting the right implant for you, we'd love to visit with you here at North Texas Plastic Surgery. If you're not in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we offer virtual consultations all over the world. Our three-dimensional imaging system actually can be done from the comfort of your home, literally anywhere. We'd love to visit with you. We'd love to help you make the perfect choice. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned.